There are many ways to become rich in America. Some are even legal. But one of the most popular roads to extravagant wealth is to open a business, especially if you call that for-profit business a church or a ministry. To most of the dollar-wielding public and the IRS, those are magic words that can lead to fortunes. For example, Joel Osteen is basically a smarmy motivational speaker, but he calls his business a church. A church that is a 16,800-seat arena. It was once the home of the Houston Rockets, another profitable business with a screaming paying audience. Osteen has a net worth of roughly $100 million. He lives in a $10.5 million, 70,000 square foot mansion. He has a garage with 20 car stalls for each of his exotic, expensive vehicles. I mean, what would Jesus do? Yes, Jesus did tell Joel to give all his money to the poor, but Joel realized if he did that, then he'd be poor. And they'd have to give it back to him. So he just skips a step and keeps it. Glory. Osteen claims that he makes most of his money off of book sales, not the church. My, that's a little clever by half, because those books would never sell without his fame from the church or the church marketing them. The bonus to making millions for God, well, other than the 100% handling fee, you don't pay taxes on it. Any of it. You see, churches are considered to be public charities, also known as Section 501c3 organizations. As such, they are generally exempt from federal, state, and local income taxes. This law was based on the usually misguided assumption that not paying taxes would help free up money for pastors to help those in need. Sort of hard to square that with Joel Osteen locking out victims of a Houston flood because he didn't want to get the expensive new carpeting wet. Or Kenneth Copeland using his little gift from the IRS to gas up his Gulfstream jet to fly in luxury to one of his extravagant vacation properties. But with these public charities, charity begins at home, which is so often a multi-million-dollar lakeside mansion. For example, Franklin Graham skims off $720,000 each year from just one of his charities. It's called Samaritan's Purse, with the emphasis, obviously, on the purse. Atlanta's aptly named Creflo Dollar is worth between $27 and $30 million. His church made a tax-free $70 million in just 1 year alone. And if Creflo ever asks Jesus to take the wheel, it will be in a Rolls. According to televangelist James Robison's own financial report, his ministry pulled in $55,647,470 in 2023. In 2011, he cashed out $7,729,377.75 worth of stock. Glory! Being in business with the Lord is such a blessing. But when it comes to using God to grab piles of tax-free cash, nobody can touch Kenneth Copeland. In 2021, the Houston Chronicle reported that Copeland had a net worth of $760 million, making him the wealthiest pastor in the United States. Copeland lives in a $7 million, 18,000 square foot mansion, all paid for on the name of someone born in a barn. It is located next to a ministry-owned airport, which houses Kenneth Copeland's jets. He famously refused to ever fly commercial because he doesn't like being surrounded by demons. Frankly, anyone who has flown recently in America can understand the sentiment. Fun story! I once overheard Creflo Dollar say that Kenneth Copeland told him that he needed to get a Boeing because his Learjet was too small. Remember how in Luke 3:11, Jesus told his followers, if you have 2 private jets, give one to someone without. I'm kidding. Jesus was talking about coats. And these avaricious pastors wouldn't even listen to that anyway. Copeland claimed that God gave him his $7 million housing. Funny how the Lord won't even shell out $75 for a seedy motel room for Americans living on the streets. Mysterious ways indeed. And being able to afford an 18,000 square foot mansion with tax-free cash isn't a long enough ride on the tax-free gravy train for America's mega preachers. Oh no, not at all. Almost all of them claim such quaint rectories as a clergy residence. This exempts them from paying any property taxes under the parsonage exception. Without this loophole, Kenneth Copeland would have an annual property tax exceeding $150,000. That could pay for quite a few secular school teachers and lunches for their hungry students over the years. But Preacher Copeland needed a mink throw for the pool house, or was it the pool boy? Under the parsonage exception, New Orleans preacher Jesse Duplantis doesn't pay 1 cent in property taxes on this quaint little parsonage. Isn't the Lord good to us? Well, some of us